So you're shopping for a home in the Coachella Valley, and you know what you want in your desert home. You want an updated kitchen, mountain views, a gated community with the right floor plan that meets your needs. You're set. But what if I told you there's an invisible boundary running right through this valley that can knock $50,000 to $100,000 off a property's value? And it has nothing to do with quartz countertops or pool size. What if I told you the single biggest factor in your long-term equity isn't something inside your house at all, but something moving past it at 40 miles an hour? Hi, I'm Darlene Harwick, realtor here in the Coachella Valley. And today I'm going to talk about something most buyers never think about until they're already unpacking boxes. And by then, it's too late. I'm talking about wind. No, not the light desert breeze. I am talking about the seasonal high wind corridors that cut through specific gated communities like clockwork every spring and fall, and what they do to property values over time. I'm going to map exactly which communities get hit hardest and which ones stay calm, even on the worst days. Now, to understand why this matters, you need to understand how wind works in the Coachella Valley. We have a unique geography here. The valley is a long, narrow basin flanked by the San Bernardino Mountains to the north and the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto ranges to the south. When high pressure builds over the Great Basin and low pressure sits off the coast, air gets funneled through the mountain passes, primarily the San Gorgonio Pass to our northwest. That wind accelerates as it squeezes through the pass and fans out across the valley floor. Now, it doesn't hit everywhere equally. The northern corridor, roughly following the I-10 freeway from Whitewater down through North Palm Springs, that area takes the brunt of it. Meanwhile, communities tucked in the south side of the valley, near the base of the Santa Rosa Mountains, well, they experience those same wind events as nothing more than a light afternoon breeze. Same valley, same day, completely different experience, and the market knows it. So let's talk about what actually costs you. I've watched listings across the valley for years, and the pattern is unmistakable. Take two homes with nearly identical square footage and age. Place one in a wind-exposed corridor in North Palm Springs and the other in a protected pocket of South La Quinta. The price gap? Routinely $80,000 to $120,000, sometimes more. And here's what really grabs my attention. That gap widens over time. Wind-exposed homes don't just sell for less, they appreciate slower. When the market rises, the protected homes climb faster. When the market softens, the wind corridor homes are the first to sit. It's not a one-time discount at price. It's a drag on equity that compounds year after year. Now, during peak wind season, late March through May and again October into November, these northern corridor communities regularly see sustained winds of 20 to 35 miles an hour, with gusts reaching 50 or 60. That's not occasional. That's multiple days per week. Patio furniture becomes a projectile. Pool umbrellas have to be taken down and stored. Outdoor living spaces effectively become unusable for days at a time. That's sad because half the reason you buy here is to enjoy outdoor living. So let's map out this community by community. Because once you know what you're looking for, the pattern is remarkably consistent, and it breaks down into three distinct zones. Zone 1 is the wind tunnel. Communities in this zone get the brunt of the winds. Let's start with the northern corridor. You're in the primary blast zone. The wind coming through the San Gorgonio Pass fans out directly across these neighborhoods, and there's very little between you and the open desert to break it up. The poster child for this zone is Ascena Golf Club, which sits right off the I-10 freeway near Gene Autry Trail. It's a beautiful Jack Nicklaus designed course with a striking mid-century modern clubhouse. But golfers and residents will tell you the same thing. The wind howls through Asina regularly. During spring, sustained winds make the back nine a completely different course than when you played it in January. The $1 to $2 million homes around Asina have struggled because the winds hit the backyards that overlook the golf course. Zone 2 is the Mid-Valley mix, where wind exists, but it's complicated. As you move south on the I-10 corridor into Palm Desert proper, the wind begins to break up. The mountains on both sides start to disrupt the airflow. But here's the nuance. Even within this zone, specific communities get hit harder than others based upon their precise position and what sits between them and the pass. Let's start with Palm Valley Country Club. This is a large guard-gated community along Country Club Drive in Palm Desert. It's well south of the I-10. It's roughly 8 miles from the pass, and the wind at ground level has lost some of its punch. But because Palm Valley sits on relatively open terrain without a direct mountain windbreak, it still catches more wind than communities near the Santa Rosas. The wind is moderate there, not calm, not battered. Indian Ridge Country Club sits in a similar position. It's far enough south that the worst of the wind dissipates, but the terrain between Indian Ridge and the pass is still relatively open. On a moderate wind day, you'll feel it here more than you would just a few miles further south. Desert Falls Country Club sits even closer to the heart of Palm Desert. By this point, the wind has traveled roughly 9 miles from the pass. The wind has been disrupted by the city's buildings, mature landscape, and the topography of the Central Valley. Desert Falls is less exposed than Asina by a wide margin, but it's not in the mountain shadow either. It lives squarely in the Mid-Valley mix. Now, traveling east to Indio, Terralago's golf community off the I-10 is notably wind exposed. The north course at Terralago sits in an open corridor with few natural windbreaks. Golfers regularly report sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour during spring rounds. The surrounding homes feel it. Sun City Shadow Hills, that massive 55-plus community, sits roughly 25 miles east of Palm Springs. Being that far down valley provides some relief. The wind there is generally milder than what Asina or North Palm Springs gets, but it's still close enough to the I-10 corridor during strong wind events. Residents feel it. The community's own perimeter berm along Phase 3 was built in part to buffer against exactly this. Shadow Hills gives you a middle ground, not as hammered as the northern corridor, not as protected as the southern coves. Then there's Zone 3, the protective coves, where the wind disappears. Now, when you move into communities tucked directly against the base of the Santa Rosa and Coral Mountains, the wind effectively disappears. The mountain mass acts as a natural windbreak and deflects the gusts up and over. Sun City Palm Desert is the clearest example. This 55-plus community sits at the southern edge of La Quinta, with the Santa Rosa Mountains rising directly behind it. The golf course winds through those mountains, which acts as a permanent windbreak. When you're that far south and that close to the mountain base, the spring winds that hammer Asina are barely a breeze here. And finally, Andalusia Country Club, which sits in South La Quinta. It's pressed directly against the base of both the Santa Rosa and Coral Mountains. The mountain backdrop isn't just a view. It's a functional windbreak that makes this one of the calmest golf experiences in the valley during spring. Those multi-million-dollar homes command a premium for the simple fact that outdoor living space is usable year-round. Now, I want to say something important before you think every windy property is a bad investment. That's not true either. Some buyers, particularly investors and second home owners who won't be here during the windiest months, well, they actually prefer the discount. They buy at a lower entry price, use the home from November through February when the winds are mild, then rent it out or close it up during spring. They understand the trade and the price in it. Sun City Shadow Hills built that perimeter berm for a reason. Strategic landscaping with mature ficus hedges, dense windbreaks of evergreen trees, and properly positioned walls can reduce ground level wind on specific lots by 30 to 40%. But here's what you need to understand. Those fixes help with livability, but they don't erase the location premium. The resale market will still price that home relative to its position in the wind corridor. You can change the house, you can change the landscaping. You cannot change where it sits on the map. So I'm going to give you a couple of rules when evaluating the property for wind exposure. First, visit during wind season. If you're serious about a community, come back in March, April, and September. Spend a windy afternoon near Escena, then drive down to La Quinta near Andalusia that same day. You'll experience the difference. Second, study the terrain on a map. Look at where the community sits relative to the I-10 and the mountains. Is there open desert on the windward side, or does the community back up directly against a mountain face? The maps tell the story before you ever set foot on the property. Hey, if you're finding this breakdown helpful and you're thinking about which valley community fits your lifestyle, go ahead and subscribe. I cover the specific neighborhood level details that national real estate sites completely miss. If you're starting to plan your move to the valley, I'd love to be your guide on the ground. I know which communities catch the wind and which ones stay calm. Seasonal wind corridors do impact property values across the valley. It's one of the most underappreciated forces shaping equity in this entire market. The wind doesn't show up on Zillow. It doesn't show up in square footage, but it absolutely appears in the sale price. And more importantly, in how that sales price grows or stalls over the years that you own the home. I have some free guides for you to download. The Ultimate Desert Relocation Guide for Retirees and the Coachella Valley Wind Corridor. The links are below this video. And subscribe so you don't miss my next deep dive. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.